It's Tuesday, July 21st, and here's what you need to know by noon. The war between the United States and Iran just opened a second front. Yemen's Houthis have blockaded Saudi Arabia, and with the Strait of Hormuz already shut, the squeeze is landing on your wallet, with gas back over $4 a gallon. Plus, a quiet shift in who watches immigration enforcement. A federal court strikes down a state gun ban, and a judge blocks billions in grant cuts. Let's get into it. We start with the war, because it's still widening, not winding down. Overnight brought a 10th straight night of U.S. strikes on Iran, aimed, Central Command says, at degrading Iran's ability to keep attacking ships in the Strait of Hormuz. 2 weeks into this new phase of the fight, there's still no ceasefire in place and no easy off-ramp, even as one is now being offered. And here's the escalation that matters most today. Yemen's Houthis, who are aligned with Iran, declared a naval blockade of Saudi Arabia at the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, the gateway between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Their words, an eye for an eye. Here's why it lands so hard. About 5% of the world's oil normally moves through Bab al-Mandeb. Put that together with the Strait of Hormuz, closed since February, and you have chokeholds on waterways that carry roughly a quarter of the world's oil and gas. Iran's response is spreading across the region, too. There were drone attacks on Kuwait and air raid sirens in Bahrain. In the Strait of Hormuz, 2 oil tankers were left on fire, and a British maritime agency reported another tanker hit by a projectile off the coast of Oman. 2 weeks ago, this was a fight between 2 countries. Today, it's pulling in the whole neighborhood, and the sea lanes the world depends on. The human cost is climbing. The Pentagon says nearly 100 American troops were injured in just the last 2 weeks, since strikes resumed on July 7th. A spokesman said 96% have returned to duty, and that most were minor concussions. But across the war, more than 400 service members have now been wounded. Among the recent dead, 2 soldiers, 25-year-old Tyler Feehan of Hawaii and 19-year-old Isabella Gonzalez of Texas, killed in Friday's attack on a base in Jordan, with a 3rd service member killed in northern Iraq. And this is where a war 6,000 miles away reaches your driveway. With both those waterways under threat, oil briefly topped $90 a barrel, and the national average for gas is back above $4 a gallon, according to AAA. Markets slipped as Wall Street weighed the risk of a wider war. But there is a possible way out. Mediators from Qatar, Egypt, Pakistan, and Oman have put a 10-day ceasefire on the table. Reopen both Hormuz shipping lanes, then negotiate. So far, neither Washington nor Tehran has said yes. Here's the rest of what's happening. And today, 3 stories getting buried under the war but worth your time. First, a quiet shift in who watches immigration enforcement. The FBI has been told to stop investigating confrontations involving ICE. Those cases now go to ICE's own arm, Homeland Security Investigations. The department is also declining to release the names of agents involved in fatal shooting, citing officer safety. And of more than 400 federal cases charging people with assaulting agents, 213 have ended in dismissal, withdrawal, or acquittal. Supporters call it protecting officers doing a dangerous job. Critics call it enforcement policing itself. We report it. We don't referee it. Second, the courts. A federal appeals court struck down New Jersey's ban on assault-style weapons as unconstitutional, broadening a lower court ruling, a Second Amendment decision that reaches well beyond one state. Supporters call it a faithful reading of the Constitution and a check on overbroad laws. Gun control advocates warn it puts other states' safety rules at risk. It's likely headed for another appeal. And third, a check from a different bench. A federal judge blocked the administration from using a contract termination clause to cancel billions of dollars in federal grants, money for crime prevention, food security, and scientific research. For now, The ruling keeps that funding flowing, while the larger fight over who controls federal spending plays out in court. So what should you watch this week? 2 things. First, that ceasefire offer, whether Washington or Tehran takes the mediator's deal, or the strikes roll into an 11th night. And second, the Federal Reserve, which meets July 28th and 29th. With the war pushing oil higher, a rate hike is suddenly on the table, the opposite of the cuts markets had been banking on. It's also a huge week for earnings, with Tesla, Alphabet, and Intel all reporting. And that's Tuesday. Caught up. A war that's opened a second front and reached the pump, a truce being dangled, and 3 quieter shifts at home worth watching. We'll keep it straight and we'll keep it quick. This is Know by Noon. Everything worth knowing by noon. See you tomorrow.